growing luminous. On the mystic path, we create our own light, and at first we struggle, blind and baffled, seeing nothing, hearing nothing, unable to think, unable to imagine. We seem deserted by dream, vision, or inspiration, and our meditation barren altogether. But let us persist through weeks and months, and sooner or later, that stupor disappears. Our faculties readjust themselves and do the work we will them to do. Never did they do their work so well. The dark caverns of the brain begin to grow luminous. We are creating our own light. George William Russell.
Thank you so much. What an appropriate reading today for our topic here at Gems from the Wisdom Traditions, a conversation circle here at Still and Moving Center, online every Saturday. And the topic that we are taking up this week is karma and transformation. So we heard in that reading how someone was able, through taking deliberate steps, it sounds like of training the mind, that allowed the caverns of the brain to grow luminous. So really affecting one's own transformation by changing one's karmic tendencies, the way the mind usually works. We're refining it and using it in a different way and coming up with a different result of transformation, as it were. So today we have two people who we're very fortunate at Still and Moving Center to have lead our Qigong classes on Tuesday evenings. And this is Jade Chan and Dishen Shah. They have been training themselves in really, I think, very much a very well established tradition that is used, I know, in all indigenous cultures of learning from nature. They have had training as well in Taoism, and yoga, and Qigong itself. But I feel like their hearts are really welded to this idea of learning from nature and the self-transformation that they can effect thereby and share with the rest of us. So it's very much a pleasure to hand this off now to Dishen and Jade.
Mahalo, Renee.
Mahalo, Renee. Aloha, everyone. We are so excited and grateful to be here with all of you today. And we are just going to share a presentation really quick before we start. Let us know. Could you see our presentation? The butterfly? No, desktop too. There you go.
Let's make sure you're able to all see. There you go.
Yes, that's it.
Wonderful. You all can see this beautiful monarch butterfly. All right. So we're so gracious to be here with all of you today. Today, like Renee said, we're going to explore the idea of karma and transformation together. And we're really excited to share our love for nature and plant seeds of transformation with two stories that's going to better help us understand these concepts and hopefully embody transformation like the monarch butterfly.
So let's begin with the introduction of what is karma and transformation. So in every culture that I've studied, there's a similarity and a way of describing what karma is. Some may say it is that what you send out comes back to you. Others may call it as cause and effect. I think one of the simplest way I think to describe karma is to think about it as like your own actions, which are similar to planting seeds. Every thought, every action, every intention is a seed that you are dropping into the soil of your life. And some of those seeds may grow into a tree and some may not. And here's a misunderstanding. Some people think of karma as being chained to your past. We hear things like, I can't change because of my past. This is how I've always been. It's too late. I'm too old to change. And what I would like to suggest here today is that once you start becoming aware of the power of your present moment, you will see that your past doesn't steer the future or your current present moment. And in this moment, you are planting the seeds. At the same time, you can also choose to plant new ones and you can uproot the old weeds of your life. And here's where an amazing story that we had heard once from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and who is one of our great teachers. And we would love to share that as a story, as a gift to every one of us to contemplate on today. So imagine your life is like a boat. As we started our discussion about Cliff going on a boat outside in the ocean. So imagine all of us are on this boat, moving at the river 40 miles per hour, straight up. Now imagine you can stand at the very back of your boat, looking down into the river, into the water. Your life is moving forward, but you are standing there watching what's behind you. And in that moment, you ask yourself these three questions. The first question is, what is the wake? These ripples that are getting created behind the boat. And of course, the wake is nothing but the trail that is left behind. It is past, nothing more, nothing less. The second question you'll ask is, what's driving the boat forward? The answer is, it is the present moment energy coming from the engine, nothing else. In life, that engine is your present thoughts, your current present choices that you're making right now, and how are you using them? The third question you'll ask is, can the boat or can the wake drive the boat ahead? Can a trail left behind push a boat forward? Does anyone want to answer that question? I hear the answer. I see faces turning no. And of course, the answer is no. It's just what's behind you. And yet, so many of us live as if the wake is doing the driving, as if the past is somehow pushing us forward or holding us back. The wake cannot drive the boat. It can't set your course. What moves us forward is our awareness, our intention, and our courage to steer somewhere new. And that awareness will step in when we realize that we are the captain of our boat. And you have the power to hold the steering in your hands and you can turn the wheel wherever you want with awareness. Now, that's where the transformation happens, when you realize that you may call it as your higher self, or your God or nature. That higher self is also the one steering, and you take the wheel with both your hands and you chart a new course. And with that, we are going to jump right into the story of our butterflies, and Jade will take us through that journey with us.
Thank you, Tasheen. That story just inspired and gave us a new perspective in so many ways. So we're really grateful to share it with you and to help us better understand. And we're also really gracious to share something that we experienced through a very personal encounter with some very special butterflies. So we're going to share a story that just completely blew me away. It's, I feel, one of our signature inspiration moments in life that connected us to nature in a way that I've never experienced before. I see some love for the monarch butterfly here. So the story all began with a monarch butterfly, this one. So we decided to adopt 3 caterpillars a couple of years ago to help restore the monarch population here in Hawaii. And little did we know that when we got these 3 caterpillars, that over the next 10 days, these tiny creatures would teach us more about transformation than any book ever can. So we set these caterpillars in front of our meditation table at home. And every single day we would go and check on them. And guess what they were doing? They were eating. We fed them fresh cornflower leaves every day. And every day we would see them just munch away with a fierce determination. And they were eating ferociously, like they were preparing for something big, like they knew that they were meant for something bigger than themselves. So they would eat, they would sleep, and then they would poop little green balls. And this cycle just continues and continues for about 7 to 8 days.
Very healthy diet.
Very healthy diet. Very healthy diet. And one by one, these caterpillars would then each transform into a chrysalis. And their bodies would morph into these jade-colored green shells, which is breathtaking. Have you all seen a monarch butterfly chrysalis before? Has anyone? No? Some yes. Amazing. Beautiful. So the color of the shell is actually jade color. It looks the same as jade. And in ancient Chinese culture, jade symbolizes purity, virtue, and transformation. And when I saw this, I was just blown away that I was like, wow, these little creatures, they are going through their own purification and transformation process. So when they are inside these chrysalis, they're in it's just so incredible what happens. They literally, their entire body literally turns to mush, and they let go of everything that they once were. And somehow in it is already an invisible blueprint inside them to transform into something completely new. And that is what transformation is. It's leaving behind the old and becoming something completely new. And I believe these monarch butterflies embody that so beautifully. So on day 8 at 4:32 a.m., Deshane finishes his morning meditation. And the moment he finished, he heard a soft flutter. And he opened his eyes, and our first monarch butterfly had been born. It just came out of its chrysalis. So Deshane immediately calls me, and I sprang out of bed, probably the fastest I ever did in my life, with all the sheets and everything flying. And together, we just went in and just sat in awe. We sat in awe as this monarch was pumping water into its wings and just learning its new body. And it's what a miracle. And we named our first monarch Fairy. We just knew this is Fairy. So for the next 8 hours, from 4 to 3, Fairy stayed very close. Now, we had never touched a butterfly before, so we were new butterfly parents. Well, Fairy, she climbed onto my finger and just stayed completely at ease almost the whole time. Every time I tried to sat her down on a leaf, on the table, on some food, she would be like, nope, and she would climb back up to my finger. As if to say, I'm good. This is home for a little while for me. And so I was just sitting there in our dining room table, just with Fairy. on my finger, and sometimes I had to take a break, and Duchesne would hold it on his finger. And she just sat there the whole time. And I can't describe the emotion and the connection I felt just watching this beautiful being. And something amazing happened next. At 3 p.m., as if something inside her told her that it was time to fly, Fairy flew straight to the window. Now, she had never seen the outdoors before. How did she know she was supposed to fly outside? So we knew this was her time. I ran to the window, I flung it open, and without hesitation, she flew out. 30 plus floors up, she just flew straight out. And she headed straight for the Pacific Ocean. And Duchesne and I were just at the window, hanging on to the handlebars, and we were just looking out and cheering Fairy on, go, Fairy, go. And we just looked on with awe and just filled with so much gratitude to witness this miracle. And she flies out so far, we could barely see her. And then Fairy circled back. Not once, but 3 graceful, huge loops from the ocean back to near our window, the top, as if saying, thank you. And then she was gone. And I'm just so amazed. She knew she was supposed to fly freely. And that's transformation. Sometimes transformation causes to take that leap of faith. And there's so many incredible lessons we learn just within these 10 days of watching the journey of these caterpillars and butterflies. And we would love to share some of them with you.
So at every stage of Fairy's journey, she taught us something very powerful. And I think we'll try to keep it short. The first is to trust your inner blueprint. You may also call it as intuition or your inner knowing, the energies that you keep within. So for a second, just take a moment to even imagine a ground-dwelling being like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. The one that stays on the ground, having the ability to go out and fly in the world, flying across the world. How does that happen? And somehow in that caterpillar, there was a deep inner knowing, a biological blueprint of its future with self, with wings. It doesn't question transformation. It just simply follows its natural destiny. And we have the same capacity for transformation, just as the caterpillar carries the blueprint of a butterfly. We carry the seeds of our highest potential within us. We can envision our future self, living through our purpose, expressing our truest self, and serving our dharma. Now, second interesting learning is that Fairy teaches us that transformation is about leaving the old and becoming new. So here's something fascinating about butterfly transformation. When caterpillar enters the chrysalis, it just doesn't grow wings. It completely dissolves everything it thought it was. Its entire structure turns into liquid. And think for a moment, total dissolution before rebirth. That's such a powerful metaphor for our own transformation. Sometimes we have to let go of our old beliefs, our old patterns, our old way of thinking, our old way of being. And just like that, we transform ourselves. We do not have to dissolve physically, but we have to transform our beliefs and systems of thought processes. And we have to surrender to that process. Last is acting from a future knowing. Now, here's something interesting to understand. The caterpillar doesn't wait until it has the wings to prepare for light or for their flight. Long before the transformation, it acts on its destiny. It climbs on that perfect spot to build its chrysalis, and it starts the journey of metamorphosis, all before it has any proof that it can fly. It has already been living from the end, and it acts from that future knowing. And every time you act from your highest vision, even in small ways, you are doing what the caterpillar is doing. You are trusting in the future of your higher self. And we'll leave you with this practices of conscious transformation that we can embody. So if our thoughts, our actions, and our habits make up our day, our days make up our life. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your day every single moment, and seeing and embodying 1% transformation in your daily habits. Just like the butterfly, they make their journey so intentional and focused. We can cultivate conscious daily habits. Those 1% small changes, they keep adding up when done consistently over time. Set your intention, align with it, and let that take its own path without being attached to the fruits. And in this way, you make a conscious shift, planting new seeds, simply changing the momentum of our lives in our thoughts, in our action, and in our energy.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us to share. And we also really love to hear from your experiences as well. So we thought to start off with reflecting on your wisdom tradition or experiences. What were some key moments for you that led to transformation? And and Renee, if you could kindly help us with leading our this discussion, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yes, of course, I will. I just was hoping you could go back. I know you were so conscientious about keeping to the requested time, but I'd love for you to go through this list a little bit with us, so we have a chance for that to sink in a bit.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think these are a conscious blueprint in how we can embody energy in a way that we can connect to our higher self. So there are a few things that goes. One is to embodying silence and stillness within. Just like, when caterpillar turns into chrysalis, that being which is inside the chrysalis, it's completely shut off from everything which is going on outside. And there's a deeper meditation which is going within. And that is one of the things that we can embody within us. We can begin our day by practicing stillness, which may be meditation, which may be, playing our music, anything that allows us to be focusing our energy in one direction. Then eating is another aspect. Allowing ourselves to eat mindfully with awareness. What energy am I putting in my body? What do I want to feel? Because just like caterpillar was eating green leafy vegetables throughout its journey, there is some deep inner knowings which goes with it. And every food is associated with a certain action and an energy system that you are allowing yourself to be fed. Physically, we have to move mindfully to kind of let go of all the stagnant energy so that we can be free from our energies that are slowing us down, so that we can allow us to move in the direction of our well-being, in the direction of our highest self. Few other things is connecting to the nature, because connecting to our organic self, which is without any layer of identity, any layer of ego, allows us to connect to our highest self. And there are many different ways you can connect it. Nature also includes humans and all of us, our community, animals, and many different dimensions of beings. So we can find our own authentic way that allows us to connect with that energy. And of course, if you have found your light, share it with others, sharing kindness with everyone else. And lastly is reflect, because whatever you are doing, it is your action which you are driving your life towards. And if you want to steer your boat in a specific direction, reflection is one of the ways where you set your intention, ask yourself the question, how did I do today? can I improve myself in any areas of my life to feel better or to move in the other direction of my life? So these are some conscious steps that we can take in our life daily. And the key is to not do everything at once, but start somewhere that makes you feel that you're going in that direction. Slow and steady, 1% actions keep adding up over time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a question on the floor of experiences that people would like to share, advice maybe even that people want to share of how changing our direction in terms of which direction we're driving the boat, right? Can lead to some sort of transformation. Experiences that we might have had, or maybe that we know about, maybe even, a hero story that we have, somebody that we know of who's changed their direction and changed their life as a result, changed themselves. That story of the butterfly is so gorgeous, enthralling. Bob, here we go.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that within the Zen tradition, there's another aspect of the butterfly that you didn't focus on quite so much. You were looking at the caterpillar going into the chrysalis. But in Zen, there's also a part of the story of the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis. Um, and I don't know if you guys saw that. You have to be there at the right moment to see that, but I have. The butterfly gradually, there's like a shell. It comes out, and at one point the body emerges, and the wings are still inside the chrysalis. And usually it's on a branch, but gradually, very gradually, the wings come out. And at one point, just a little bit of the wing will still be in there. And this is where the Zen story comes in. There's a great temptation to help the butterfly at that point. Just a little bit of a move, just touching the chrysalis a little bit, will help the butterfly finally emerge. And if you do that, the butterfly will be damaged. Its growth will be stunted. It has to come out in its own way. And the Zen story is a teacher has to be very conscious when someone has a breakthrough about to happen to not give it to them. It has to come from themselves. And I think this is the forward motion of the boat. You can't push the boat. You can't help the butterfly get out, or the wing will be a little crumpled, will be a little misshapen. But if you allow it to come out, and then, as you say, it puts water in, it strengthens the wing and such. But that's an interesting part of the story, too, is that the self-transformation is radically self-oriented. You then have to come out of it. It's somewhat similar to the Taoist sense of body and mind somehow being able to transform into spirit. And that is a very subtle, indefinable kind of move to be beyond physical, mental, and into the spiritual. But that's the transformation from the chrysalis of the butterfly coming out. So that part of the story I thought was very interesting. And in Zen, it's very conscientious of the job of the teacher to allow that transformation by not helping it, because nobody can help you transform in that critical time.
Beautifully said, Bob. Thank you so much. And you just reminded us that part of the transformation journey is making that journey ourselves. And how beautifully said. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can share a personal example. Many of you know, growing up, I had always struggled with my weight, and I was morbidly obese when I was, from the time I was really, really young. And I just am reminded of this cocoon because and this transformation. And it started in the mindset and the view of the self. And when I had changed the way that I saw myself and decided to love myself, my body, and my life, and love this temple, it was a really big shift that happened in the ability to decide to change my lifestyle, the way that I ate, to start moving, to start being active, to start caring for this temple. And my cocoon, my chrysalis, was a trash bag, because how I started was I would cut the head and the arms out of a trash bag, put it over my body, and I would go running through the neighborhood twice a day, once in the morning, once in the night, running / walking initially. It worked up to a jog eventually. But through that process of making that shift, I emerged from that trash bag 2 years later, having lost over 200 pounds, and just being much more connected to my body and the ability to love our bodies and be mobile and active, and feel good and healthy in the body. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that example, both Bob and Jaden Deshan. Yeah, I can definitely connect with all parts of those stories. So, yes. And here I am with my wings, my butterfly wings. Look, literally, there's some wings right there. Oh boy.
Diana.
What comes to me is I loved your talk. Thank you. That butterfly story just touched my heart so deeply. And also the idea that we think that our past defines us. One of the things you said was to live from your future vision. And my son works a lot with people of how do we decide what is our vision for our future, and get really specific about how do we want to be. And then how do we, whether it be a vision for work, whether it be a personal vision, whether it be, a spiritual vision, but then how do we live from that place now? If I want to be more loving, I'm thinking I have to be more loving. Well, what does it mean to just be more loving? It's being in the present moment and living from the place. And if it's a vision for the future for your work, okay, so what is the baby step I can take to do the next vision? And it's like how I love your ideas of transformation as of stillness and move mindfully, eating awareness, the energy we put in our body and mind, connect with nature and share kindness, and end with reflection, because it seems to me that when we're living our vision now, we are actually needing to do these to stay in touch with our divine nature and have that support, so we're not doing it alone. And yet there is, if we live from that little by little, we are becoming that because we're already living it. It's not, gee, I'm going to do that someday. It's like you said, that when you put the garbage bag on, you just start running. How do we begin by living our dream now? And I think and sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes it seems like things are happening. There's helping people all over the world that they did not want. But how do you live in the circumstances you have and still keep your heart and mind with kindness and love? That's what I thought about.
Ooh, I'm motivated to do. Let's do something, Diana. Wow.
What you said, spoke one thing, is that, the mirror not only it shows who you are right now, it also shows who you will be in the future. The choice is how you want to see that. And, about what can I do at the moment? The butterfly did everything it needed to do. There was also a part of act of surrendering from the butterfly perspective in the type of environment it got to grow, that probably it didn't have full control over. There's always an act of surrender, which is beyond our control. And you may end up getting a very conscious environment in which you could grow, or you may end up being in one of the most volatile places in nature. They will find their way in and out. And the key thing is to having a balance of surrender and what you can do that is in your control. So it just reminded me from what you spoke about it. So mahalo.
I think that surrender is really important, because I think I can have a vision of where I want to go, but God has a different vision. And oftentimes the things that I think I want and I don't get, it's the best thing in the world that I didn't get it. And so continually for me, asking for divine guidance and divine inspiration, and I keep asking, am I supposed to do this now? Because even though I might have a vision of what I want, it may not be the vision that my higher self feels is important, because my ego is making the vision. But if it's a space of how I come at things, for example, I want to be loving, I want to have faith and trust, I want to surrender to God's will. If those are where I'm coming from, then it kind of it opens up a vision that I may not have ever thought about.
I think it's important to recognize too that this divine plan changes every step of this transformation. So it's interesting when Jade was talking about the caterpillar ferociously eating, and all of this. When the butterfly came out, well, why wasn't it eating? Well, for one reason, it doesn't have a mouth part. It can't eat a leaf. A caterpillar can eat a leaf. A butterfly has a proboscis, a nose. It needs to find a flower to put that proboscis in and suck out the honey nectar. It's eating a completely different thing. It's a completely different environment. If you gave it the same food, you'd literally be starving it. It can never eat that leaf. That was back caterpillar time. This is butterfly time. And butterfly time is finding a beautiful flower with a long sort of stem that it can reach into to grab that nectar and come out with it. And so, again, it's all part of that big plan. It's part of pollination. We'd have no flowers if we had no butterflies or bees, but they're all part of that bigger transformation or cycle too that's happening. And so it's all beautifully karmic.
Beautiful learnings, and thank you everyone so much for sharing your stories and your learnings. I feel that I have every time I learn something new from the butterfly, it's just so beautiful. It's another light up moment. So thank you for sharing that, Bob, Diana, and also Dustin. I love your wings, and you're a beautiful butterfly. So thanks for sharing your story earlier.
Yes, thank you all. I was just thinking life is constant change. We start off as little tiny things, and we grow, and then we're adults. We go through the kids phase, the teens, preteens, young adults, mature adults, and then we get to old adults. And we look back on all the changes that we've been through, and we can see, okay, that I did, it worked out good or it didn't. The times that I surrendered, it was for something better. So it's wonderful to be part of a group that has young eyes, middle-aged eyes, and older eyes, because we can be grateful for everything. Amen.
Amen. I was thinking of that chrysalis phase and the way you describe it, the caterpillar completely losing its form, just turning into goo. And yet there is an invisible pattern that it must have in order for that butterfly itself to form itself around. But in the meantime, while it's in that goo, it's in this really liminal stage, isn't it? This and Bob kind of pointed out to how vulnerable it really is until it gets the last bit of the last piece of one of those wings out of the chrysalis. It's still very, very vulnerable. So there's something about that in a liminal phase. And so when we are in periods of great change in our own lifetimes, it's interesting. It seems as though we kind of would really benefit from some sort of protection, doesn't it? And I wonder, what is it? Do we need to seek that protection? Do we just trust the universe like the caterpillar does? Yeah. What about protection in that liminal phase?
I think in part, that chrysalis idea, the teacher in Zen has allowed that caterpillar to come to a point where the chrysalis is there. In other words, part of the koan practice, part of the meditation practice is, in a sense, to kind of push into that, okay, you can stop eating now, you're big enough. And there's a critical kind of place there. And that is a nurturing, protective kind of environment to say, okay, now you're in this place. And then there's this radical sharing of the responsibility where the teacher has made that possible, but almost all contextually. The actual transformation comes from within the person being transformed. And so, it's partly, it's almost a dance of providing the context and living through the context. And I find it really interesting. And I was an entomologist back in a previous life, a studier of insects. And, there is complete metamorphosis, which is what a butterfly does. But there's also gradual metamorphosis, which is like what a grasshopper will do. So there's an egg, a little grasshopper comes out. And if you've ever seen a little grasshopper, it's bright green, brighter than jade, beautiful, but it has almost everything the adult would have. The gradual metamorphosis is it's gradually getting bigger, and there are certain parts that are, as Renee says, liminal. It doesn't have really wings. It has wing shields as a little baby, but it doesn't yet have wings. So there is a point where wings will come. And that's kind of it's like a chrysalis almost. Something magical happens that allows it to then transform itself along that gradual metamorphosis in much the same way. And then if you look at the final adult grasshopper, you can see so many things that are different than that little baby grasshopper. Everything it's a radical transformation that has happened gradually over time. In Zen, we sometimes say, well, there is sudden enlightenment. All of a sudden, there it is. The butterfly comes, and you're awakened. And then there's gradual awakening, which happens over long periods of time, very slowly. And what's interesting, I think, is that sometimes, like Haku and Zenji would have a big experience, a sudden awakening, and then he'd spend 7 years cultivating it, which sounds pretty gradual to me. So it's both gradual and sudden, and nothing could be more sudden than that chrysalis transformation. But transformation happens gradually too, and I think that's always good to remember as well. It can be wonderful to watch a grasshopper slowly transform itself into an adult. Gradual metamorphosis.
Disha.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay. What I was thinking for me is that sometimes the transformational process, when I'm in the goo and I don't know I'm not who I was, and I don't know who I am, there's a space there of feeling kind of lost for me. It's like, I don't know exactly who I am. I don't know where I am. And one of my Zen teachers had said, only don't know. And there's a book by, I just lost his name, but there's a book called Only Don't Know. I hate that book. I hated that book because I want to know. And what I really got was in the middle of the transformation, when we are totally lost, all we can do is, I don't know, and wait with faith and trust to see how it transforms. Because during those times, I'm not who I was, but I don't know who I'm going to be. So I feel lost, or I have felt lost, or I felt like, so what I do is I just take one moment at a time and keep moving forward in faith and trust, and say, I don't know what's going to happen. All I can do is move forward and listen deeply and move forward the best I can with you in every moment. But that transformation can be really uncomfortable. And it could be scary, because if I transform, and this is a big one with some of my clients, if I transform, does that mean I lose everything? Or if I transform, how do I stay in this relationship? And we don't know, and it's like, and what I say is, you don't know yet. Don't move ahead that this is what you're going to do. Don't make the decision. If you don't know the answer, don't make the decision. You just live this moment and live with faith and trust and see where it develops. But I think sometimes the transformation for me, has not been easy or as comfortable as just coming out as a butterfly. Although I don't know, the caterpillar becoming goo may not have felt so good either. So I don't know.
Faith and trust is an amazing aspect of that as well. To say, well, I just stay with that. That's an amazing self-belief as well. There's a koan that says, a student came to the teacher and said, well, I'm going on pilgrimage. And the master said, why are you going on pilgrimage? Why don't you just stay here? And part of that was that you already have Buddha nature inside you. You don't have to go anywhere, But he's saying, why are you going on pilgrimage? And the student said, I don't know. And the master said, don't know. How intimate.
You just shared one of my moments from my life. So I do want to respond to Renee's question, because it's very wonderful analogy. And what Diana mentioned is part of the answer. So the answer is twofold from my perspective. Is one, from our physical self perspective, from the logical mind. The quality of your chrysalis is dependent on the quality of the hard work you have put in while eating the food as a caterpillar. The intention with which you ate will determine the quality and the strength you will be surrounded with from the physical self perspective. From the higher self or spiritual self perspective, the caterpillar is trying to transform into something, into unknown, into its higher self, into its highest version, which is also the nature. If a physical being wants to experience his higher self, the energy on the other side might also want to experience the same through that being. Imagine for a second, there's something on the other side which is patiently waiting for someone to come up and be that being so that it can experience and express itself through its highest self. That itself, it's a beautiful protection you can have through the journey. It is the unknown. There's no word to it. There is no way to describe it. But you talk about faith, you give words to surrender. Yes, from the physical self, there's so much things going on. But from the other side of the perspective, it demands total unknown, total surrender, totality, completely. You name everything, you just give it to it. And when you reach there, in a way, you are being compassionate to the future beings who are waiting for you, for them to be served. So that's where I land for now.
I have a different perspective also, which is going beyond ourselves and going wider and vaster and looking at the whole and looking at others. And so how can we as citizens of this universe, global citizens, provide and participate? What is our small role perhaps in that transformation, in that chrysalis for someone else that God, that the universe, that life has connected us to, has placed us into a sphere of influence for but a moment in time? And I kind of look at it as we are participants in that symphony of nature, of the environment for that caterpillar, whatever stage it may be at. And so how can we provide the food, the support, the elements that this caterpillar person in their caterpillar season of life needs in order for them to continue to move along in their transformational journey? And it just reminds me so much of this still moving center, and so many of the folks that I've met, from members to teachers to staff, that came here and we met them at a certain point of their life and they just needed to go through some transformational work. And it's just incredible to be a part of a community where we are able to support people and provide love and provide wisdom and encouragement and opportunity and safe space. And then they transform and emerge and they fly away to their next destination. We were just talking about that yesterday or the other day, I think, Renee. So just a beautiful perspective on that. So yeah, thank you guys for sharing that. Yeah.
I think that goes back to the boat example as well, because all of that past karma has created a certain context. And part of the context is we are lucky enough to be born as human beings. Only human beings can take that final transformation you were talking about. So that's a great luck. And not only were we lucky enough to be humans, but humans that found a teacher or found a place, like the Still Moving Center of like-minded people that we can talk with. That's lucky. But it's not lucky. It's part of that karma. That whole karmic context is creating this moment. And I think what Deshaun and Jay did so beautifully was to say, okay, you've got that. That's the wake. Now you're 100% responsible for moving forward. But, you shouldn't do that without recognizing and appreciating that you are 100% the past karma too. It's all your karma. Everything that happened was not by accident. You were lucky enough to find a teacher because your past karma allowed that to happen. You could have been born as a non-believer in whatever tradition you were there, of someone who was just not able to take what Kierkegaard says, that leap of faith. Not everyone is capable. And a human being is the only being that can take it. Doesn't mean that all beings take it. Kierkegaard once said, there was only one Christian and we crucified him. I mean, we have to become Christ-like in our behavior, and that's amazing part too. Christian existentialism is tough stuff, but I think it's interesting to then look at responsibility and karma, because transformation really is 100% us moving forward and 100% us from what has happened. I mean, we're here absolutely because of our karma and nobody else's. And if we're born in a situation where we're struggling, we're born into poverty in a war situation, I mean, what did the person do to deserve that? The Buddha says, you don't need to know, but rest assured, you did something. You are there for a reason. Your karma in the past led to this moment. Have faith in that, And now that's a given. Have faith that you can then go forward. And as a human being, there are wonderful examples of upali, a struggling person who then gets enlightenment. Or I think Renee keeps mentioning the great thief that keeps killing people and taking their thumbs and makes a garland of thumbs. Couldn't have any worse karma, but he's still a human being and he could transform himself. He's still got to deal with an awful lot of karma, more than, well, not more, but different than the rest of us. But as a human being, his potential is wonderful. And of course, God makes butterflies, God makes humans. I mean, miracles all over.
Why don't we do a quick time for a takeaway from each of us, and then we'll wrap up. Does somebody want to share a takeaway? Adela, you're fine to join in, even if you don't care to put on your screen, or you can't. You're so welcome if you'd like to share a takeaway.
Just thank you so much for the talk and the responses. I'm just sort of in a liminal state, so I'll just try to have a little more faith and just live a little, I guess. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. Why don't we, I think I'm gonna go move from there. Dustin, Mary, Bob, Diana, and Jade and Dishan.
Fortify your chrysalis. Thanks for the wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
Shen.
Surrender.
Thank
Trust the process.
For me, it was, I'm aware that whatever one person does, because we're all one, it affects everything and everybody. And with all that's going on, we think, oh, what can I do? And we can live a life of kindness and love and transformation inside of ourselves. And that affects the whole world. And people say, I feel helpless. Don't, it's like, how do we really live this only moment with love and kindness? And that does affect everything, whether we know it or not.
Thank you.
So many amazing, thank you all so much for sharing. And one of the beautiful takeaways is the sudden enlightenment and then the gradual enlightenment. Sudden enlightenment, then 7 years of contemplation, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. So beautiful takeaways, everyone. Thank you.
I think for me, embracing oneness and embracing diversity of light, treating everything from everyone is on the journey and no one is separate from you. There's a part of you in everyone, and there's part of everyone in you. I think I'm going to contemplate on the word diversity from the stage of butterfly perspective.
For me, it makes me wonder maybe how I can assist in such transformations. For example, the way you provided the proper leaves for those caterpillars to eat, providing that nourishment. I can do that. But understanding what not to do, which is what Bob shared with that, we must not interfere with that struggle that an individual needs to go through to complete their own transformation. So when to do and when to not do. in helping anyone in their transformation. It's really helpful. Thank you. Well, you gave just such a marvelously rich and stimulating talk, Deshen and Jade. I think that you can tell from the really, really rich responses that came in our conversation how marvelous what you set us out with really was. Just very deep thank you.
Wow.
Next week, our topic, and I don't know exactly how it's going to be covered yet, meaning by whom it will be covered. We just know and trust that it will. That topic is will and yoga. Will and yoga. So we can all look forward to the surprise that's going to come out. It's kind of like finding a chrysalis of an unknown species and wondering what's going to come out. We'll find out next week, won't we? Well, thank you all so very much for all of your great wisdom and willingness to share, and from your thoughts and your also personal experience. Deeply appreciate. Aloha.
Thank you, and thank you, Jay.
Hello. Aloha.